Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Dana and today I have for you this amazing cake with walnuts and vanilla custard. And I'm gonna show you step by step how I made this because it's absolutely delicious and you need to try it out. And I'm gonna start this with ingredients for vanilla custard. We love custard, so I have here 500 milliliters of milk, 2 yolks, 150 grams of sugar, 165 grams of butter or margarine at room temperatures, and 2 sachets of vanilla pudding. It's not instant pudding, it's the one that we cook on the stove. It has cornstarch and vanilla flavoring, so I'm gonna use 2 of these. In a pot, I'm gonna pour 400 milliliters of the milk that I have, and I'm gonna put this on the stove to heat up really good. In the rest that I have saved up, I'm gonna mix in the pudding mixture, those 2 sachets. Mix them in with milk. And because they're not sweetened, I'm gonna add sugar. We need this to be nice and sweet. And I'm gonna add those egg yolks, which they're gonna make this custard super rich and delicious. Mix everything really good with a whisk. And when the milk heated up, put it over the egg mixture in a really thin stream and continue to mix, and return all the mixture in the pot and on the stove on low fire. Keep on mixing until it's gonna be nice and thick. Don't leave it unsupervised because this will burn and will taste really bad. So stay there close to the stove and keep on mixing. It's gonna take only a few minutes. And when it's like this, nice and thick, you can take it off the stove. As you can see, it has a really lovely color and smells delicious, and the taste I cannot tell you. You need to make this. I'm gonna put it in a bowl just because I wanted to cool it down faster, and if I keep it in that pot, it will stay warm longer. So I transfer it now in a bowl. Cover it with cling film and make sure that the cling film touches the custard underneath, because this way you prevent that skin to form. I'm not saying that skin is delicious, but we need a really nice and smooth filling here. So in case you don't want to have a dessert, for yourself to eat that skin, just cover really nice the custard. After cool down and reach the room temperature, use the mixer to soften it up again and incorporate butter. And as you can see, I cut it in smaller pieces, so it's going to be easier to incorporate in the custard. And this is the first step of our recipe. I'm going to let this aside after I finish incorporating all that butter. And I'm moving now to make the next filling, the one with Biscoff cookies. And I love these cookies. I cannot tell you enough about these. They have cinnamon and caramel. So if you love those 2 ingredients, you definitely need to try this out. I'm gonna mix it up with 100 grams of powdered sugar, 125 grams of butter of margarine at room temperature, and about 100 milliliters of fresh squeezed orange juice. And I'm gonna start with orange juice. I'm squeezing up an orange here and saving up the juice. And the cookies, I'm gonna grind them up using my food processor. Because this is super tiny, I will have to do these in stages. I break them apart so they can fit better in the food processor and transform them in really thin crumbs. Transfer the crumbs in a bowl and continue in the same way with the rest of the cookies. So you can have all of them nice and crumbly. They smell delicious. Oh my god! You need to find these cookies, and you can use them for cheesecake as well. I told you, cheesecake. Okay, I'm done with the biscuits now. I grind them all. I'm gonna put butter in my mixer bowl, and because I didn't take it out from the fridge before or in time to reach room temperature, I had to use microwave to bring it to room temperature, and my microwave kind of went over the board. So if you have time, just leave it at room temperature to soften up, to have it nice and soft. I'm gonna add now powdered sugar over and mix it in, and add those Biscoff crumbs over and incorporate those as well. Add orange juice, and this is the second filling. We're gonna let this aside. Now let's make the filling with walnuts and chocolate. Yeah. Okay, I need 180 grams of walnuts and 55 grams of chocolate. They will just match together perfectly. Mix them with 125 grams of powdered sugar and about 80 milliliters of milk. I'm gonna warm up the milk on the stove and heat up some water in a pot because I wanna melt the chocolate. As you can see, I'm breaking the chocolate in smaller pieces, and I'm gonna put it on top of that hot water that I was telling you about, and I'm gonna let it melt. I like to melt the chocolate like this on water bath because I make sure that I'm not burning it. I'm really good at that, so it's safer if you melt it on water bath. I'm gonna proceed with walnuts. I'm gonna just grind them up in my tiny food processor, and I will have to do this again in a few stages because this is tiny. Grind them up really, really well. Small crumbs. Like this. And I'm gonna put them in a bowl and continue with the rest. Sweeten this filling with powdered sugar. Mix that sugar with walnuts. I'll add warm milk over to make this into a paste, into a filling, and melted chocolate. Mix everything well and let it aside. So we're done with the third filling. Oh my god, this looks amazing. I can eat this with a spoon, definitely. Keep it away from me. Okay, now let's make a sponge cake. And this is so simple. I'm gonna use 4 eggs, 100 grams of sugar, 100 grams of flour, 5 grams of baking powder, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla paste or vanilla extract. And I'm gonna separate the eggs. In a mixer bowl, I have here egg whites and egg yolks in a separate one. Start mixing the whites with a pinch of salt, and when they start to be nice and white, add half of the sugar gradually, and make sure that it's really well incorporated and you have a nice meringue with stiff peaks. Now I'm gonna mix the yolks with the rest of the sugar until the yolks will change color and the sugar will start to dissolve. I'm using the this. Add vanilla paste, or if you don't have this, vanilla extract is just fine, or vanilla sugar the same. Mix those in. Add flour over the yolks. And I'm gonna add baking powder as well. And now this starts to be dry, so I will have to incorporate the meringue that we made just a minute ago. And I'm gonna incorporate the meringue in 3 stages, because I want this sponge cake to be really nice and fluffy. So I make sure to incorporate the meringue into the yolk mixture. Mixing in like this the meringue into the yolk mixture, we do not over mix. So I will not over mix, and I will not take the air out of the whole meringue. So now the last part, as you can see, is super nice and fluffy. I'm gonna preheat the oven at 170 degrees Celsius. That is about 338 degrees Fahrenheit. And I'm gonna pour this batter into a cake mold. And I'm gonna bake it in my convection oven, so with the fan on, for about 15 but not longer than 20 minutes. At least my oven didn't need it more, but if you want to make sure that your sponge cake is well baked, do the toothpick test. Just stick a toothpick in the middle of the cake, and if that comes out clean, the sponge cake is baked. So level up nicely the batter in the cake form, and I'm gonna bake this, and you're gonna see. Looks amazing. Look at that color. Lovely. I'm gonna remove the cake form and let it cool down. Bring it to room temperature. Okay, let's assemble now the cake. I need a wafer sheet, and I have this from another dessert that I made, so I am using this because I don't want to waste things up. And on top of that, I'm gonna level the filling with Biscoff cookies. spread it nicely and use a spatula to level it all over the surface in an even layer. On top of that, put the sponge cake that we baked and cooled down and press a bit and spread now the walnuts and chocolate filling. As you can see, I put smaller amounts all over the surface of the sponge cake. It's gonna be easier to spread it out like this. I'm gonna use again a spatula to level it up all over the cake in an even layer. Now we add custard. Yeah, again, all over the cake. We cover it with custard. We smooth it out with the spatula, making sure that we cover all the surface with custard. And because I want to level it nicer, I'm going to put the cake form around my cake again. We'll keep everything contained in there, and it's gonna be safer and easier to move the cake around, you know, without dropping anything. I'm gonna decorate it now with whipping cream. I have here 250 grams of whipping cream that is nice and chilled from the fridge, and I'm gonna start mixing it and use 2 tablespoons of powdered sugar to sweeten it up. Add now sugar, and when it's well whipped, yep, it is whipped as you can see, just spread it all over the cake. Use the spatula to spread it nicely, and I have these comb type of spatula, and I am creating like these waves on top of my cake. If you don't have these, you can use a fork or just leave the cake as it is and just sprinkle some grated chocolate on top. After this, you have to put the cake in the fridge until tomorrow. Keep it there, will set. Remove the cake form the second day, and you can start cutting it and serving it. Looks amazing, and it's absolutely delicious. I showed you step by step how I made it, and if you have any questions, you can post them down below, and I will make sure to answer you. Thank you so much for watching. Find reasons to smile, and I hope you're gonna have a sweet day. See you next time. Bye.